How are you? It's such a pleasure to be back here at Atlas Network's Liberty Forum, where we not just talk about liberty, we fight for it, we defend it, and we do it in every corner of the world. We're going to be talking about today about something that's been deemed in 2023 Word of the Year last year, right? Even though it's two words, right? Artificial intelligence. We're on the brink of a new technological revolution, a not so silent one. AI is in our lives in almost everything we do. It's not science fiction. I mean, it's no Terminator yet, even if your refrigerators at some point start plotting to conquer the world, we might need to talk about that. But from ChatGPT writing our essays, chatbots answering our messages, we are seeing AI in almost everything we do all the time. And there's a debate going on. There's a big discussion taking place, one in which we have to take part of. While many might view these changes with fear, we here know better. We know it's an opportunity to expand human freedom. But let me be clear, this is not a passive moment in history. This is not something that's just going to take place and everything is going to be okay if we don't do something about it, if we don't discuss it, if we don't have the talks that we have to have. As I said, I don't want to bore you with the debate on whether AI should be called AI. Alas, AI, artificial intelligence, is the term that has prevailed, equivocal as it may be. But what I want to talk to you about is this other word that keeps being used every time we hear AI. Ethics. AI has to be ethical. That's what we keep hearing all the time. But what does that mean? What does AI and ethics mean? It often means control. Control from government, control from the people that want to tell us and that want to dictate what we can and cannot do with this new technology. But are we going to trust? Are we going to trust the tech CEOs and the bureaucrats in their offices to tell us whether we follow Immanuel Kant or Jeremy Bentham or any philosopher at that point? That's not the free market. That's not the free exchange of ideas. Think back to the early internet, right? The early internet where we had the hackers and the cryptographers and the rebels fighting for the open web, for a place where we could share information without permission and without being checked on what we did, where we could build and create. Take, for instance, AI art. This is from 2022, late 2022, the Colorado Fine Arts competition, where an AI system created that picture. And it won first prize. And some people were quick to call and say that it was the death of human creativity. Far from that. It wasn't the death of creativity. It's its rebirth. It's a possibility of giving people the chance of creating things that perhaps they were not able to do before. Are we going to let a government committee or a judge tell us how to value art or what we can do with it? I don't think so. Yet we cannot ignore the dark side of AI. We are seeing it in countries where facial recognition is used to track people, to social score them, to decide what they can and cannot do, where they can go, how they can communicate with each other. And while Black Mirror had an episode on this, and you probably saw it, we are not in Kansas anymore. These things are taking place. And they are not only taking place in faraway countries with languages different from the ones we may speak. They are also taking place in places closer to home, where well-intentioned regulators say that they want to do what's best for us, that they want to protect us, that they want to safeguard us. We are actually in front of an existential threat, a flood of attacks that has been going on for the past year against classical liberal ideas and institutions, done through AI with these very same tools. You see it every day with the difficulties on getting fair hearings in Wikipedia. You see it when they scrape the internet trying to find information about all of us and using it against us. We don't have to resort to those same strategies in order to do something about this. We've seen it even not so long ago when we had the discussion on misinformation, on fake news during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw how the idea, the notion of these things that were not supposed to be shared ended up changing when the narrative shifted later. And while things might be a little bit better in some social networks with some changes that have been taking place in the past year, we are still far from being at a perfect spot, at a perfect place. If we don't do something about it, I don't want to be gloomy about this. If we don't do something about it, we might end up with a digital leviathan that knows everything about us, even perhaps better than we know ourselves. This is not the idea that I want to leave you on. This is not the image that I want to leave you hanging with. Because there's another way. There's a better way of having this discussion. We just heard about Bitcoin. We know about blockchain. We know about all these technological discussions that have been taking place in the past few years, and how even governments have had to recognize, to acknowledge that technology can be useful and that there are other ways of doing things. AI is at the same crossroads. We have a chance of giving this discussion and on taking a different spot. That's why I want to leave you with two main ideas, with two calls of action. We have to get involved in the discussion against centralized AI control. This is not a discussion that's just taking place in Brussels or in Washington, something far away where we are not to be part of. This is a global battle that is taking place right now. And we have to trust in the power of voluntary cooperation. We have to trust in the ideas of the free market, of voluntary exchange, of individual responsibility. We have to be part of this. I don't know if you remember this old animated Hanna-Barbera show, The Wacky Races. That was a big thing back in Argentina when I was little, where you had all different cars racing with different drivers that were completely different one from the other. And week on, week off, you'd have the brothers from the Camerons winning, and then you had Penelope Glamour, and you had all those characters vying one against the other, and you never knew who was going to win. This is the kind of race that we are in. We don't know who's going to end up being first. But if we don't take part of this discussion in an adult and mature way, then things might end up being bad. Essentially, from now, people are going to judge us not on the algorithms, not on the things that we can see, but on the principles that we fought for, on the things that we stood for. And the AI discussion is also part of this. So let's not despair, even if from time to time things might look bad. We are living in extraordinary times, and this is our chance to be part of the AI discussion. Thank you.